GamingBolt presents 10 things you need to know before you buy Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds. Horizon Zero Dawn is undoubtedly one of the best games to have launched this year, and arguably even among the very best this generation has had or will have to offer by the time it's done. Being the team's first departure from a strictly linear first-person shooter series with a very light focus on narrative, Guerrilla Games could have been forgiven for going with something more familiar or something more conventional. Instead, they went with a full-fledged open-world game with a deeply imaginative setting, an excellently interwoven mesh of various gameplay mechanics, an extreme level of polish that is hard to find in similar RPGs, and one of the most ambitious and well-told stories you will ever see in a video game. We know that sooner or later, both Sony and Guerrilla will want to capitalize on the success of Zero Dawn by making a sequel, but as it stands right now, that day is at least a few years away. That said, we are still going to get a chance to revisit the beautiful and vivid post-apocalyptic setting that Guerrilla Games have created with Horizon Zero Dawn's upcoming DLC, The Frozen Wilds, launching on November 7th. So as we wait for it, we're going to take a look at 10 things that we feel you should definitely know about the upcoming DLC. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. A substantial update. Horizon Zero Dawn was a pretty big game as is, with an enormous map and a plethora of activities to take part in, all of which you could easily spend upwards of 50 hours on. And while the Frozen Wilds obviously won't match that large scale, it is still going to be a pretty substantial addition to the base game. We don't yet know around how long the entire DLC will be in terms of hours, but Guerrilla Games have stated in the past that with a number of new quests and activities, a large map, and tons of other things to explore, the Frozen Wilds will be a very beefy update. The setup. With Horizon Zero Dawn itself having raised the bar so high for narrative, people are obviously going to expect some interesting stuff from the Frozen Wilds. But just what exactly is this going to be about? Frozen Wilds is going to be set in a brand new area, a frozen area, as you may have guessed, to the north, a place that the hardened tribe known as the Banuk have called home. And why exactly is Aloy traveling to this new place? Well, to investigate and hunt a new machine, of course, a brand new machine type that is terrifying man and machine alike. Act as an epilogue. Interestingly enough, the Frozen Wilds will be set after all of the events of Horizon Zero Dawn, which is interesting considering where the base game left off as its story finished. We don't know exactly how much time has passed between the ending of Zero Dawn and the beginning of the Frozen Wilds, or how much of those plot threads will carry over into the DLC. Guerrilla will probably want to save those major ones for a sequel, but we do know that the Frozen Wilds is supposed to act as both a major new expansion as well as an epilogue to the base game, all at the same time. It should be interesting to see how Guerrilla manages that balance. New machines. The imaginative and varied machine designs in Horizon Zero Dawn were such a large part of why the game was as excellent as it was, so it goes without saying that the Frozen Wilds has some pretty high expectations to meet in this area as well. It also seems like Guerrilla are prepared for that. The developers have confirmed that the Frozen Wilds will contain several new types of machines, including the big bad mysterious new monster that will be the focal point of the story itself. Considering how incredibly well designed the machines in Zero Dawn were, we can't wait to see what Guerrilla will do with the upcoming DLC. What kinds of new machines will we see? Maybe a robot bear, a robot elephant, or better yet, a robot gorilla. New characters. This one goes without saying, doesn't it? Aloy is going to travel to an entirely new location and interact with a tribe that we haven't seen much of or know very little about. While Aloy is almost certainly going to be the star of the show here just as she was in the base game itself, we're definitely intrigued to see what kinds of characters are going to be part of the Frozen Wild supporting cast. Interacting with the new tribe and learning more about their culture and their way of life in this harsh, frozen land is going to be interesting for sure, but it'll be even more so if the characters that act as the story and lore's vessels are interesting and well written. New weapons. Weapon variety was one area where it felt Horizon Zero Dawn could have done more and gone a little more in depth, so we're hoping that the Frozen Wilds will work towards fixing those issues. Guerrilla Games have confirmed that the upcoming DLC will indeed have several new weapons and armor types for players to find and make use of in this game, and we're assuming that new types of weapon and armor mods go hand in hand with that. Maybe new kinds of ammo as well, one can always hope. Yellowstone National Park. This isn't something that has been officially confirmed by Guerrilla or Sony yet, but it looks like players will be visiting a post-post-apocalyptic version of Yellowstone National Park in the Frozen Wilds. Images and footage seen in the DLC's trailer show a location that looks a whole lot like the Grand Prismatic Spring, not to mention the fact that it makes sense geographically as well. Zero Dawn was set in the Colorado area of the Rocky Mountains, which would put it in the vicinity of Yellowstone. It's going to be interesting to see how the location is recreated in Guerrilla's post-apocalypse and what value the location holds with context to Horizon's lore. No more Horizon DLC. The Frozen Wilds is no doubt going to be a hefty expansion, but developer Guerrilla Games have confirmed that this first DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn is also going to be its last DLC. In a way, we're disappointed that we won't get more content for such an incredible game, but this could also mean that Guerrilla are shifting their focus to Horizon 2. That, of course, is just conjecture, but it seems like a safe bet. Either way, hopefully the Frozen Wilds will be packed with enough content to keep us sated until the sequel rolls around. Not standalone. Recently, it's become something of a trend to take what were originally clearly meant as DLCs and then release them as standalone spin-off-like games. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy and Dishonored: Death of the Outsider are two such examples. Guerrilla Games, however, are doing no such thing. The Frozen Wilds is going to be a much more traditional DLC for Zero Dawn, if such a thing even exists, meaning that it's not going to be a standalone experience. So if you want to play it, you won't be able to do it if you don't have the base game itself. Complete Edition. When the Frozen Wilds launches in November, people will be able to buy it for $20 or $15 if you're a PlayStation Plus member. However, if you have yet to play Zero Dawn itself and are also interested in playing its upcoming DLC, you might want to think about purchasing the Complete Edition. The Horizon Zero Dawn's Complete Edition will launch on December 5th and will include the full game plus the Frozen Wilds DLC, not to mention all of the content that was included in the Digital Deluxe Edition, which includes a PS4 theme, digital art book, weapons, resource packs, and much more. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.